I wrote the first draft of the 10-point platform and program, but we didn't have a name for it. We had no name for it. The 10-point platform and program. We want power to determine our own destiny. We want full employment for our people. We want decent housing, fit for shelter of human beings. We want decent education to tell us about our true history. We wanted an end to the robbery of our black communities by the avaricious corporate monopoly capitalists. What was it? 6, we wanted all black men and women to be exempt from military service. We changed that later on to free preventative medical health care. Number 7, end to police brutality and murder of black people. Number 8, right to have juries of our own peers for all black men and women in jails and prisons have been tried by all white juries and so on. And summed the program up with the first 2 paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. When in the course of Huey, I just thought it was great. I said, Huey, come downstairs here, man. I said, look at this, man. It says, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for anyone to... I said, now we can change this a little bit and kind of paraphrase it, whatever, etc. When in the course of human events, listen to it, becomes necessary for any one people to dissolve the political bondage which are connected with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth to step in an equal state to which the laws of nature, nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of humankind, dictates they should declare the causes which impel them to dissolve that political bondage. When a long train of abuses and usurpations pursues and invariably evinces a design to reduce a people under absolute despotism, then it is the right of the people to alter, change that government, and provide new guards for their future security and happiness. The Declaration of Independence. Or as he said, just a white man's knowledge. I said, no, that's my knowledge. Why come you can say that? I say, if 1 + 1 = 2, the white man's knowledge. I said, that's just a fact. You know a mathematical fact? Yeah. And then, of course, in dialectics, you know, I always taught party members, we use dialectics. We don't use myths. We like to do research. Quantitative increase, quantitative decrease causes qualitative leap of change. You had to know and understand that when you came around me and doing organizing in the community. The increased amount of times you sell a Black Panther Party newspaper in the designated area where you sell it, and over and over and over you sell it, and an increased amount of times you talk to the brothers and sisters that you're doing, you are decreasing the apathy and increasing the consciousness. So that's what it was about. How do you educate the people about programs, about organizing, and unify the people? And we came up with all these programs, beginning with the Free Breakfast for Children program, 6L anemia testing program, free preventative medical health care clinics. That's what we started with. But party members from Seattle, Washington, to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to Boston with Sister Archie Jones, who run that chapter up there, to Chicago, as they got creative with the whole concept of grassroots community programs. I looked up, and Winston-Salem has got a free ambulance program. I said, hey, right on. I hadn't even thought of that, but I said, right on. I looked up in Boston, and then Sister Archie Jones got a free pharmacy program. Hey, right on. Richmond, Virginia had a free pest control program. Next thing you know, we have 22, 24, and they expanded even after that, programs in the community to organize and unify the people around. All growing out of the foundation of the 10-point platform and program of our Black Panther Party. That 10-point platform and program. You know, even when we wrote that program, I said, now Huey, we don't want to write some long dissertative kind of stuff. He said, what are you talking about? I said, well, you know how some brothers and sisters, they're educated and stuff. But they try to talk to the grassroots brothers and people. And they say, the basic socioeconomic structure, the adverse conditions that you're subjected to, and consider in particular sociological and psychological factors. You know, and the brother, he said, hey, Brother Bobby, what you talking about, man? When you get down here and you're playing with brothers and sisters, then they understand you. And that's why we wrote the 10-point program and tried to stay away from that dissertative kind of leaning in language. But that program, as it's been said tonight already, is just as relevant today as it was then. And I mean that in a more profound way. This particular movement, this particular Occupy Wall Street movement, and that in my last 3 speaking engagements just this fall, I mean, I walked in, and the first thing I say to these 500 or 600 or 700 students where I'm speaking at, Occupy Wall Street! And the whole crowd jumped right on. thing. And then finally, on the internet, they put out the first, 40-some odd points of what they were issuing about, and I read them all. I said, wow, what these guys are talking about, every point in the 10-point platform and program fits right into everything they're talking about. The unemployment, the decent housing, et cetera, so it's right there. So, you know, our party evolved to have a broader class analysis rather than a race-only analysis. We understood how to look at the broader class analysis of what was happening. So that became literally a stepping stone point for us to really begin to expand. The great characteristic of the Black Panther Party was so great when we got coalition going. Other organizations, such as the Red Guard in Iwakun, with the young Chinese Asians, and Asian Student Alliance, and Richard Aoki started up, it was another organization, the Young Lords Political Party, and AIM, American Indian Movement, all wrote their own 10, 12, or 14 programs modeling after what we had written, but more specifically to their inner culture and their community and what was happening. And so that 10-point platform and program is basic. I mean, it's really no different from a lot of civil rights organizations and other organizations, except that we in the Black Panther Party really says we believe in the right to self-defense. Right. And I guess that's what captured the imagination, not only of a lot of people, but captured the imagination of the white racist power structure. These Negroes talking about defending themselves. Well, I'll be darned. You know what I mean? They called me one day over to do a television show in San Francisco, Race Relations in America. And I took my 10-point platform and program, but also took 500 of the 3,000 racist letters that had been sent to us in the Black Panther Party. I had given a directive somewhere back there that all racist letters to all chapters and branches got to be sent in so we can give it to our lawyers, because that would be evidence in the courtroom for our right to defend ourselves, you know what I mean? And so I took these letters over to the host and I dumped them out there, and he says, why are you dumping these letters? I said, you the one got the program up there called Race Relations in America. This is a bunch of racist Ku Klux Klan, Nazis, everybody here, talking about killing and murdering us Black Panthers. They're gonna hang us, they're gonna do this, blah, 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 blah. And I says, boom. I says, now, what you need to do, I told the host, look at these letters. I said, there ain't no return addresses on none of them. No return addresses on none of them. I says, now, all you peace-loving people, with your white, black, blue, red, green, yellow, polka dot, I'm ready to say something. But you peace-loving people, I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about these hardcore racists here. Every racist who sent this, first, my home address is 809 57th Street. You ain't got no address on yours. I said, headquarters address is so-and-so. I gave about 10 addresses for the Black Panther Party's office and headquarters. I said, now when you come to shoot, kill, and murder us, when you come, remember, we have shotguns, we got pistols, and we will exercise the right to defend ourselves. So when you start shooting at us, we shoot back. My point is, we have to stand up to defend ourselves. We was talking about defending our Constitution, democratic, civil, human right, to organize our people, to raise the consciousness of our people, to unify our people. That's all we were talking about. This wasn't no macho stuff, I'm bad, man. You had to be disciplined. Even when we took the first guns out in the streets, we disciplined all the brothers and sisters. How you cannot point the gun. Point to the law they had to know about the guns. You cannot point a loaded weapon and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we taught them. And I'll never forget that day when we first went out there and got that first real disciplined, organized patrol together. And that cop says, you have no right to observe me. 50, 60 people standing on the sidewalk. And Huey says, no, California State Supreme Court ruling states that every citizen has the right to stand and observe a police officer carrying out their duty as long as they stand a reasonable distance away. Reasonable distance in that particular room is constituted 8 to 10 feet. I'm standing approximately 20 feet from you, and we'll observe you whether you like it or not. And some sister on the sidewalk say, well, go head on and tell it. The cop says, is that gun loaded? Huey said, I know it's loaded enough. He said, well, I have a right. Huey said, step back, you have no right. Huey went off, such Supreme Court verdict, somebody versus so-and-so, so therefore it's my private property. You cannot remove my private property from it without due process of law. Step back, you cannot touch my weapon. The tall brother standing there, he said, man, What kind of Negroes is these?
Okay, fellas, right in here, huh? You working here? Where are you fellas from? KQED Channel 9. So, hey, one thing, today Friday the 13th, also my birthday, so how about that?
Friday the 13th, also your birthday, so what? What are you talking about?
This time.
A birthday's a birthday.
It is, but on Friday the 13th, can you dig that? Did you see the paper there? Francisco? Yeah.
About what?
About the police car that got blown up.
Did you get my beef when I started? Oh, I saw the, I just got through looking at the, Examiner.
They had the pictures in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'd like to get a little bit more into the, prison life, you know, just like
Prison life?
Lunch, you know, you're in prison now, you know, you're telling us about the lunch. A lot of times before, when we're off camera, you know, you show your sense of humor and yourself and everything like that. So this time, you know, come on out and be natural. Show all the sides of yourself that you are, you know.
What about the program?
Huh?
Are you asking about his prison life?
I'm going to ask about your prison life, and I'm going to ask about, you know, the Panthers and mix the two. So when we get through with this film, we'll be able to bring a picture back to the people of who Bobby Seale is in prison. Mm-hmm. And the thing that struck me last time when I was here is I expected you to be positive. I didn't know what to expect, that you might have been broken down, and they might have driven you crazy or cracked you. Mm-hmm. The thing that's impressive to me and a lot of people that saw the footage the first time was that you're alive and well, and you're, you know, surviving the pressure that they put on you, you know, mm-hmm. in all these different forms. So, where did you just come from now, down the hall?
Well, they just brought me out of my, the cell they keep me in. That it's a cell that I'm isolated, you know, from all the other prisoners in the jail.
Yeah.
And I've been in there reading the papers, this morning's papers, and just before that, I was out to see my lawyer about the local superior court they got it so operating that they just almost threw the habeas corpus aside, you know, so we could at least always a habeas corpus for a hearing, you know, concerning this extradition that Reagan and call itself making.
Yeah, okay, we'll get into that extradition a little bit later. What about we missed the food part. What did you have for lunch today in jail?
I have some more of that soup. You have it's just a thing of soup, you know. Some days it's what they call potato soup, and some days it's what they call, it's a kind of greenish looking marsh split pea soup.
What do they feed it to you in?
Well, you have a metal pan, like, almost, and it's about an inch in depth, you know, and about 5 inches in diameter, the bowl part of it. And,
so that's what you have
that
today?
and bread, yeah.
You eat that usually every day?
I don't eat it all the time. I throw it in the toilet. What I do is they have a commissary here where you have money on the books. You know, people leave you money.
Yeah.
Where you can buy cigarettes, where you can also buy milk. I buy a quart of milk. I have a coal. And
you have a coal now?
Yeah, I have a coal. And, well, it's going away a little bit, but they have little cartons of orange juice you can buy. So I want that vitamin C, you know, to keep buying. So I buy a couple of those and a quart of milk. And then they have, you can buy some candy, you know, and your cigarettes. And then they have some crackers. And the Ritz crackers, cheese kind or something that they don't sell out there on the market, I guess, much. And they sell them up here. And I bought a box of those, you know, and sometime I'll eat and nibble off this. Peanuts, they have a little package, 5 packets of peanuts. And
Well,
instead of eating that soup, I generally throw it in the toilet. The soup and bread.
Just eat the cracker.
Yeah, instead of eating the soup and bread, I eat the crackers and drink some milk. Sometime I might take 2 or 3 spoons of the soup.
Yeah.
And they have some green salad. Sometimes they chop up and throw on a plate. And if it's got any kind of dressing on it, I'll eat it. If it don't, I generally throw it away.
Like if you really had your choice of what you would eat, if you're really in there, Like last time you said you wanted some soul food. And if you would, and you went into this whole thing of describing what would you eat if you could have something to eat?
Well, I'm a cook. I can cook, see?
So what would you cook?
Well, I'd cook. If I was out of jail, I've been in jail now about 6 months. I like to go home and get my wife, and we'll go down to the co-op market somewhere, and we'll buy some cube steaks, you know what I mean? Some nice little thick cube steaks, and bell peppers, onions, and all this other stuff, And I'd go home. I'd do the cooking more than likely. We'd cook together.
But you do most of the cooking at all?
No, I don't do most of the cooking. I would do the cooking when I really want to eat something that I want to eat, the way I want to cook. When she can cook. She learned how to cook. When she first married, all she could cook was spaghetti, see? So I do 50% of the cooking now. She learned how to cook, by me helping her, teaching her how to cook, Well, I had to learn how to cook when I was in L.A., when I was living by myself, see? And, I had to learn how to cook what I could, you see, because I really didn't have no money. I was hung up one time and just broke, But what I'd cook is, I'd take me some cube steaks, flour them down, season salt them down, pepper them down, and then I'd douse them in some flour, and I'd put them in a pan of hot grease, about 4 of them. And if they brown on one side, I'd flip them over. Then I'd cut up a whole onion, slice rings of onions, and I'd cut up some rings of bell pepper, and then drop a lid on top of it, and lower the fire down, and let it go slow. And meanwhile, the ham ends or bacon ends is already boiling. Have already been boiling at least, 30 minutes, on a high fire, and I drop either some fresh shell black-eyed peas in there, but a frozen black-eyed peas, which I prefer, Actually, I didn't put them on before I dropped the meat in, because the way I'm going to do this, but I got these black-eyed peas going, with a little bell pepper in there, and I would season it down right, just, black pepper and all that stuff. I like highly seasoned stuff, Then I got this pan of rice-a-roni cooking, see, I've got this 3 or 4 slabs of butter. And the bottom of this pan is just melting, and I throw this rice-a-roni and let it brown over, and boom, throw all this stuff in, and I take 3 tomatoes, 1 tomato, After the rice steams up inside, I put the water in, put the little herbs and all this stuff, this beef rice-a-roni, you see. And after it comes up, I take a tomato on top of the rice. I stir it up and then let it steam a little bit, and I take a tomato and slice it all up and put the slices all over the top of the rice and put the lid back on it, and then let it sit there, real low fire, let that juices from the tomato simmer down into the rice. You dig? And I have some cornbread, and I like a tall, cold glass of milk, you see? And when that cornbread is hot, the rice-a-roni is hot, and everything is cooking. What I do, I take the meat out of the pan, and I put 4 or 5 tablespoons of flour in the bottom of the pan. It'd be equated with the amount of grease, and the juices and seeped out of the meat, into there, and it's kind of cooked too, And you let the flour brown, you see. And then that's when I go to my thing, I get me half a bottle of steak sauce, and dump it in there, some hot sauce and dump it in there, and some peppers out of a jar and dump it in there, a little more seasoning sauce, salt it down and taste it, you have to taste your food, you see. It tastes good, boom. And take all the meat and put it back in the pan, you see. Cut up a few more onions, a few more bell peppers, you see. Tomato maybe, Boom, and put the lid back on there and just let it simmer there, for about 20 minutes. Everything is nice and hot, and that's what I have, some cornbread with butter, in between it, some black-eyed peas, the ham ends, the bacon ends, or whatever you got in there, or a ham hock, you have to boil it a little early, you know what I mean, get it done, you know, and I agree, man. I like to get down to it. That's where it's at to me. Country brown cube steak smothered down in country brown gravy. Black-eyed peas and rice-a-roni with all the gravy I want to put on it, you know, with all the way I got it seasoned just the way I like it, and a tall glass of milk. And
I can see why you threw your simple way after all that.
I mean, I like to eat. You know, one time, a long time ago, somebody asked me what I'd rather have. I was down in Los Angeles at the time when I was trying to make it 10 years ago. And he asked me what I'd rather have. Would I rather have a Cadillac, or would I rather have a refrigerator full of food, you dig? And you know, you think about this, you know, I like to eat. You know, when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of these things, you know. We get a piece of steak. It was a little bitty piece of steak, and it was far and far in between, you know. And Mama would hustle up a skinny chicken for Sunday, you see. And Daddy, he's around working here and there, but we didn't get much meat. We eat a lot of greens and black-eyed peas and cornbread, you know.
Was that in Oakland?
Yeah, raised up right out there in Berkeley, Cordonesis Village, the ghetto over there.
Were you in Cordonesis Village?
I lived
I remember that. Remember the Busy Bee Cafe?
Yeah, I remember. You talking about on 9th and what's it? Harrison. Yeah, I lived on 6th and Harrison.
And they finally tore that place down.
Yeah, I know they tore the whole place down. That's where we was raised up at, man. And see, I remember my mom used to bring ends and stuff. And I think about people who are hungry, you know. And I think about people. That's why breakfast for children's where it's at, man. You know, because in the morning, like you eating grits. I mean, I like to eat breakfast. You know what I mean? I want 3 or 4 slices of that, some thick bacon. You know what I mean? I don't like that little dainty thin bacon, but I eat it. You know, it's sweet and it's good. You know, but some grits and some butter. You know what I mean? Some hot biscuits or some jelly or some syrup, one way or the other. You know what I mean? And that's where it's at. And I think every little kid in the country should have it. You know, sausage if he wanted, ham slabs and grits and butter and jelly and biscuits. You know, we make toast with placing the butter. This is where I was raised up. You put the butter on the bread, you know. I don't dig toaster bread. Toaster, you know, we put, you know, they take the toast and they put it in a little toaster, you know. Well, that ain't the way we do it. I wasn't where I was raised, because we didn't have no toasters. So we had to put it under the flame in the oven, you know. And we still do it, but we like it that way. We're so used to
It tastes different, too.
tasting spats of butter on top of the bread and sliding it in the oven, you dig? And then it toasts right, nice and hot, and the toast is nice, and the butter melts down, and you come in nice and hot, you know what I mean? And I hated margarine, you know. The reason I hated margarine, even when I was a kid, I knew it was a fake, you see? And it wasn't real butter, you see what I mean? And I kind of adopted this from my daddy. He didn't want nobody's margarine. He wanted real butter. And my mother likes real butter, you know. They was come up on a farm when they was young, too, you know. And butter, man, on that rice, and scrambled eggs, or sunny-side-up eggs. Just take me some pile of rice with all the butter in it I want, and 2 or 3 sunny-side-up eggs on top of that, and some smoked sausages or some bacon.
What about in the jail? You ever talk about this food in
Oh,
prison?
man. I talked about this one night, man. The cats told me to be quiet. I got to talking one time describing the meal. You know, I was hollering down the block to some other brothers that I talked to, Los Siete, and Los Siete and them brothers. And they get to describing stuff, you know. And they was talking about how they make chili. I make chili, too, you know, roast beef, all that stuff. Stew. Love to cook stew. Like when we in the Panther Party, you know, the Panther houses. Drop over to the Panther house, or at my house, up at the top of the Panther headquarters office, you know. Got a kitchen back there. That's where it's at. I mean, you know, you grease, you know. And so I tell the brothers there's some chili, you know, and everybody gets together, and we eat food is life, man, you know. And I relate to things, you know, like that.
What about Los Siete? You can't see any other prisoners, can you?
No, only time I see them cats, man, is when they lawyer. Well, they lawyer is my lawyer. They, you know, I call them out, but one of the lawyers working along with Gary as a crew will call them out, and they pass by my cell.
Anybody. You see any of the other prisoners where you are?
Yeah, I can see when they pass by my cell, or when they come down to take a shower. They might have shower day like tomorrow, see, on Saturday. And they'll come down, and the process of them taking that quick 5-minute shower. See, this shower cell is kind of like next to my cell, but it's to my left. I really can't see in the shower. But as they come and get ready to go in, they say, "Power, Bobby, you know, what's happening, brother?" I say, "Right on, you know." Vince Ramos, you know, we will win, and we be talking about a lot of things, man. We talking about the fact got to raise defense funds and things like that, you know. And the fact that the people struggle out there in the streets, what's happening, you know, and we got to organize the people and let the people organize around the programs and unify around these programs, you know. Breakfast for Children, Free Health Clinic, and all of them.
You think the prisoners in there understand, you know, the most of them hip to what you're talking about?
I think a lot of them are not motivated. I think a lot of them just don't know, really. They know some kind of way, but they're not able to articulate how it's really the power structure. You know, the avaricious, greedy businessman and the demagogic power. They're not hip.
How do you know this?
How do I know?
Yeah. I mean, how does it make itself evident?
It makes itself evident that you can distinguish between two different kinds of prisoners, you know. You can distinguish the kind of prisoner who has some political thinking.
How do you do that? When you first come into the cell block, when you walk on there, how do you know which prisoners have a political consciousness and which are the other ones?
Some of them, a lot of them ask me, brother, what's going on? They just don't know. You know, they know me, they heard about me, you know, they heard about the party, you know, they heard about Huey and all of us, you know, contributing together. And they just outright asked you, you know, what's going on, you see. It's a lot of them.
Do they yell it down the halls, or do they?
Well, they might pass by the cell, or they're waiting to come out this little gate to come out and see their lawyer. They might be there about 2 or 3 minutes, you know. I rap to them, you know, stuff like that. They ask me questions. Then there's brothers that know a lot of what's happening, you know. And he comes right on in, you know. He be talking about what Reagan did and what you think about that. And he just, you know, relating his knowledge. We trade knowledge, like, you know. And he's talking about the fact that the budget for welfare in the state is lower than the budget for prisons. You know, these brothers know this.
These cats know all this information?
Yeah, man, these cats, some cats know this stuff, man. It's, you know, and it's very important stuff. Reagan, you know, directly and indirectly, man, how are all the rejects, man, these cats are hip, how the rejects on the adult authority, the cats are rejects, man. Mad Dog, Madden, the ex-policemen, ex-DAs, you know, they kind of rejects, you know, they ain't got, and they run the prison system, man.
They're rejects from where?
Rejects in terms of not being the best educated to run the prisons, or not being the best educated in society, you see what I mean?
Last time we were here, we were talking about what it was like in the hole, and that was sort of graphic, and we missed that. Would you go over that again in all the way you told it, you know, all your expressions and everything about what it was like when you were in the hole?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Y'all got no smoke, have you?
Cigarette? Anybody got a cigarette?
Don't, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Just light one for you right there.
You got a match?
Well, I was putting a hole. Well, I have to tell you how it started. You see, this guard gave me, or let me have, the Black Panther Party paper.
Yeah, there you go.
After Gary had requested, you know, him to let me have it. And I took the paper. Gary had told the guard that he wanted me to read over 3 or 4 articles because he wanted me to make some notes on them and stuff like that, and some of my statements and everything. He said because he felt that in a couple of future cases that the DA was going to try to turn the meaning of them around, so he wanted to get them down now, you know. And I took the paper. God let me have it. It was one night when my lawyer come up to see me. And next day, or 2 days later, I think, I was in visiting, and so I come back from visiting. Visiting was over for that Sunday. That's what it was. And the cat told me, he says, Seale, you ain't supposed to have that Black Panther Party paper now. I said, wait a minute, man. I say, it's another guard, you know. I say, you just investigate. I say, one of the guys let me have the paper, you know. That's contraband. I said, oh, man, wait a minute. I said, if a guard gave it to me, I said, he gave it to me after requesting my lawyer to make some notes for some legal matters, you know. That don't make no difference. I said, no, wait a minute. I said, you're supposed to investigate, you know what I mean? And what you doing with the Jet magazine? I said, what Jet magazine, you know? He said, we found a Jet magazine. I said, no. I said, you ain't found no Jet magazine. He said, we got to, I said, look, man, I said, all these cats is running around here. They're going to visits and stuff like this here. I said, the cats probably threw the Jet magazine. I said, because they always giving me something. They always throwing something in here, you know. And he says, well, that's contraband. I said, well, man, I say, that's one thing. I say, but as far as the paper go, he said, well, you're going to get your visit taken away. I said, no, wait a minute, man. I said, you got to investigate. And he says, no, he says, we don't have to do nothing. I said, well, then if you don't investigate, I said, that means you violate my rights by taking my visits away. I said, so if you don't investigate, you're a bunch of low-life, scurvy, reprobated pigs. I said, and I don't go for it. And that's the way I feel about it. And so, well, you can't call us a pig. We'll take visits away from you from next week and next week just for that. I say pig 1,000 times, pig 1,000,000 times. I said, as long as you violate my constitutional rights or my rights to my visit, any kind of human rights I got, I say, just because you won't investigate, I say, you can solve the stuff. I say, I consider you a pig until you do. And so they didn't like it. And cats started arguing with me, talking with me. I had some cups in there. There's an extra cup in my cell, you see. And the cat with the food wagon, see, they feed you in your cell. He went around out on D block, on A block. He come in on D block. He happened to went around out on A block instead of coming back out and picking up my cup. Because, see, I'm outside of the lockup for D block. You see, I'm in an isolated cell away from everybody, see. What are you doing with these cups in your cell, this cup here in your cell? What you going to do, write something for your lawyer? I looked at this dude. I said, look, man, I say, how can you be so stupid to ask such an unintelligible question as that as to be supposedly writing something for a lawyer with a damn cup? I said, now how can you be that stupid, man? I said, I'm not. I said, I'm more intelligent than that. I said, I want you to investigate about whether or not I got contraband in my cell or not, because that officer gets. I said, here you come ask some stupid, unintelligible. I said, that's just the way you pigs think. You know what I mean? I said, you don't want to believe me. I said, but if you go check it out, you'll find out that the cat actually let me have the Black Panther Party paper. And so, boom, the next morning, man, they come to take me to the hole. And so, looks up there, 10 of them there, crowded all around in front of me. I said, all right, Seale, you're moving cells. I said, moving cells? I said, oh, I said, okay. I said, let me get my property. Oh, no, that's all right, John. I said, wait a minute. I said, if I'm moving cells, I said, I want my envelopes and my property and my candy and my cigarettes and everything and my legal stuff here. So I started picking it up. No. So there's one cat. I'll take care of that. I said, no. I said, in other words, I said, you're taking me to the hole, ain't you? I said, that's what you're doing, talking about I'm moving cells. I said, I'm still taking my property, so I snatched my property up. I said, I'm definitely taking my legal stuff. So I come on out of the cell, I said, let's go. Walked on around here and went on down there. We got down there, and so they say, all right, give us all your stuff. I said, you don't get my legal stuff. I said, you don't get none of my legal papers. I said, because by constitutional right, I said, I got it a right. Any person accused and held in jail got a right to keep all things related to his legal defense with him. I said, you know that. You can't have that. No, I said, yeah, I'm going to keep it. I said, the only way you're going to get it from me is take it from me. I said, because I'm keeping my legal stuff. So I said, you can have all this other stuff. I said, you can put that away. I said, but my legal papers I keep with me. So I said, let's go to the hole. So I started walking towards the hole. And so they all jumped in. They all kind of, excuse me, they jumped in front of me, you know what I mean? And so you got to give me, I said, no, I ain't going to give you my legal papers. I said, I got a right to have my legal papers. So I started to walk towards the hole again. And all of them cats grabbed me simultaneously, legs, hands, and everything, and right around the neck and started choking me and pulling me to the ground. We were wrestling there for a while, and then this cat started hitting me in the testes. This one cat who talked about, don't worry about your stuff, you know, let's just go, you know, when you get ready to put me in the hole. And man, I was passing out, you know, and the cat was choking me, man. And he hit me 4 times, man. And I remember the last time as I was just going on out, you know. That pissed me off. You know, and I had a TV interview, and he was standing back out there listening. And I saw him listening. I said, I don't know if they even showed it on TV. I said, but they say they put me in the hole for calling him a pig. I said, well, the punk, the bastard who put me in the hole and hit me in the balls, in the testes, I said, I still consider him a low-life, scurvy, reprobated pig. I don't know if they put that on TV or not, but that's the way I felt about it. And that's exactly what he is. That's what he is. This badge 41. Of the sheriff's department, you see. And I got his badge number and everything, you see. The fool, you know. And I just wanted to print it in the paper so all the people in the community can know who the pig is, you know. But anyway, they put me in this hole. I woke up.
What did it look like, the hole?
Well, I woke up, the holes are 7 by 7. No, 7 by 5, about 5 feet wide and 7 feet long. It's just a box. There's no bed in there. You have no blankets in there. You have no toilet. You don't even have a toilet in there. All you got is a hole in the floor. It's a box. Well, they strangled me and to my damn throat. You know, I'm still hoarse now from that very strangle. I'm thinking about suicide. Well, I was choked. After I was choked, and I just woke up. I was in the hole, you know, and they threw some. Oh, you don't have nothing on. You don't have no underwear on, no socks, no shoes, and they give you a shirt, but the shirt is raggedy. The stuff they got in, they got you clothes with holes in them. But a lot of cats ain't even in the hole got raggedy stuff on in here, you know. But I woke up in the hole, so my throat, man, I was hoarse. And you know what shocked me the most? When I came to, I couldn't utter a word. That's how bad they choked me. And I already had a tonsillitis problem, see. And they choked me. They wouldn't even let me go see. I wanted to get the doctor, you know, to go through my throat. Dr. Fine, my own private doctor, or Dr. Coffin Goodley, one of the two of them. But they wouldn't let me go see. But anyway, these cats was sitting there, and they were standing there in front of. They was getting ready to close the door. I couldn't utter a word. I tried to say something, and that shocked me. I thought I wasn't gonna be able to speak no more, man. That blew my mind, pissed me off. Talking about mad. And finally, after about 10 minutes in there, I said, and one of the cats came back and asked me, did I want some water? I said, yeah, I want some water, you know. And I got some water in my throat. And then I was real hoarse, like, you know, so. That's how my throat was the first day. And it swelled up, and I started running a temperature, you know, that tonsillitis stuff, and everything.
So how did you go to the bathroom in the hole? You just had that.
Well, in the hole, man. That hole is declared unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court, but they still use it. They lie and say they don't, but they do. They're always putting cats in the hole, always brutalizing them, beating them. You know, like the other night. Well, you know the cat Raymond Scott. No. You heard of Raymond Scott? He supposedly killed all them people. Is accused of it at least.
Oh, down on Market Street.
The black cat, yeah, man. Show you how he's rotten, man. One of these black cats in there, these black guards. He tried to go in on Raymond Scott, man, and brutalize the cat, messing with him, you know. And then,
what did he do?
man, he went and called a bunch of other guards, man, and went in there and they jumped on him, man. About 9 or 10 of them beat the cat, man. Beat him unconscious. In this jail. Now the man, Gary, he's a friend of Charles Gary's too, who killed his 3 daughters. It don't bother him, see. Nobody bothers him, you know.
He's a friend of Charles Gary?
Yeah, he know all the lawyers in town. He know all the people in the government around here. You know, he's a clerk, the kid who killed his 3 children. You know, I guess he needs some mental help, you know. And so, you know what they'll do? They will probably send Raymond Scott, who probably needs some mental help, to the gas chamber. But the white man, you see what I mean? They'll send him to a mental institution. You see what I'm talking about? Well, anyway, back to the hole, man. The hole has got a hole in the floor. It's just a flat hole, you know, you floor and it's just a hole. And one of the things about it, they had the thing stopped up. They don't flush, you can't flush it from inside. You flush this flushed from outside by somebody else. The thing was stopped up. So I was in there about half an hour or so, and it flushed, but it was stopped up, and the defecation and urine and toilet paper and crap come all back up in the floor. And I'm standing in 2 inches of water now, with defecation and everything, you know. So I watched, this little porthole, you know, got thick glass on it, you know, you can see through it like so. So I'm watching and see if somebody passing. Every once in a while I try to bang on this door, but it's almost soundproof, you know. People can hear you kind of banging on it, but not much. Tell these dudes this damn thing is stopped up in here, you know. And, you know, and fall apart. And the cats knew it was stopped up. They knew it, you know. And not till late that night, man, when the shift had changed, you see what I mean? One of the guards that got some human sense. In fact, they'd given me some food in a plate, and through the little porthole. You see, what the water recedes, flushes up and it sits there for an hour. You know, it takes an hour for it to recede back down and they flush it back up.
So where were you all the time? You were
Every hour and a half. Yeah, I was in the middle of the crap, you know, until the stuff receded, then I could sit back on the floor possibly. You know, I couldn't stand up all that time, you know.
Yeah.
And
were you hanging up on the bars and stuff trying to...
There's no bars, it's a box. It's a box. It's a box, there's no hole. It's a door, a big thick door, a big thick steel door, you know. And it's a cold floor, you have to sleep on the cold floor, you don't have no bed in the hole. It's a 7 feet long, 5 feet wide box.
So what did you do to keep yourself fit or to keep yourself sane when you're in there?
Oh, in the hole?
Yeah.
You see, this is where you beat the cat. See, when you're revolutionary, you don't, they can't break your spirit that way. You see what I mean? The real thing is you understand the psychology of the cops. They are the ones who really couldn't stand to be in there. That's why they create that kind of thing. You see what I mean? They are the ones who really couldn't stand to be in there. Anyway, my food came in there. They gave us some food in there. And what it was is the way they got that thing turned off, unstopped that plug in that hole. And me, I said, sitting and stuff is, on the night shift, after they come back around to pick up the thing, I wouldn't hand the plate back out the porthole, you see. And they opened the door, and I'm over here in the corner, and my plate is sitting there and all this water, defecation and crap all over the floor. I look and I say, nah, is this you cat's hole? And so he said, come on out of that. So they cleaned it up and unflushed the thing and got the thing all cleaned out. But it's their minds, if they're scared of that hole, you see, they're the ones who could never take it, you see. But Huey one time was telling me about how he figured that psych out. When he was in jail a long time ago, way before the party started, they put him in the hole because he led a strike in jail for better food, And what they did, they stuck you in the hole and they give you a cup of green marsh and mesh, and 2 pieces of bread or something twice a day. And so when they first come around there, he would say, I'm not going to eat this crap, because I was striking upstairs for better food in the first place. What I look like eating this crap you kept sitting out here in the first place. So he would threw it back out. For 2 days, he wouldn't eat. But it so happened the shift changed and a night shift cat changed. And the cat who came on night shift happened to be a brother who knew me and Huey very well, at Merritt College, And this cat saw Huey down there and asked Huey, was he hungry? Well, he didn't even ask him whether he was hungry. What it was, he just went and got some bologna and cheese sandwiches, and brought them down and gave them to Huey at night. And every night he'd come on. So the next day, where Huey figured out these cats' psychic was that they come down there and it blew their minds. When Huey come down, they come down the next day with their green marsh, Huey would be doing push-ups, and they didn't know how this cat did that for 10 days, and it blew these cats' minds, How could he do it? It's just impossible, Well, Huey reversed the understanding of their thinking. The first thing is a basic fear. It's impossible to survive in the hole. You're supposed to break your spirit, you know what I mean? But you don't do that, see? And once you understand that their psychology, deep down inside, they can say everything they want to say, but them cops are really scared of that hole. That's why they create something that they fear, you see what I mean? Which makes them hate. It's a basis of hate and false fears that they have. So they create the most detrimental things. That's the basis of hate. You see how you can describe their hate, you see.
So how did you whip the psych on them when they came back?
In Oakland, California, the search for power began on the street. Blacks had little say in how their community was run. In particular, many questioned the role of the police.
The police throughout the black communities in the country were really the government. We had more contact with the police than we did the city council. The police were universally disliked.
The size of the mostly white police force was increasing. So were complaints of police brutality. Influenced by freedom struggles in the South and in third world nations, in 1966, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale formed the Black Panther Party for self-defense, a symbol taken from a Lowndes County, Alabama political organization. Armed with law books and with guns, the Black Panthers monitored the actions of the police in the black community.
I remember one of these first events when we got out of the car. We saw policemen, making an arrest of some kind, about 20 or 30 people in the community standing to the side watching. And the black folks, one of them says, hey, who are these people? Hey, man, this guy got, hey, man, I'm going to move out of here. These guys got guns and stuff like that.
They were out looking at what the police were doing. We had officers stopping a car, and then we would have a carload full of these Black Panther people pull up behind them and watch them and see what they were doing, They were looking at what the police were doing.
We would follow the police around, and when the police would arrest or detain someone, we would read their rights to them.
And it came down to some point where the policeman says, "What are you doing with those guns?" And Huey says, "Well, we got ours to defend ourselves and to observe you." And the police, "You have no right to observe me." And Huey, with all his law study, because he was in night law school at the time, California State Supreme Court ruling states that everyone has a right to observe a police officer carrying out his duty as long as they stand a reasonable distance away, and a reasonable distance was constituted in that particular California Supreme Court ruling as 8 to 10 feet. I'm standing approximately 22 feet from you. I will observe you, carry out your duty, whether you like it or not. And the black community saying, "Well, go ahead on and tell it."
The boldness of the Panther actions attracted young blacks, many in their teens. Carrying loaded firearms in public was a well-protected legal right in California. But with the emergence of the Black Panthers, state officials introduced legislation to outlaw loaded firearms within city limits. May 1967. In protest, the Panthers traveled to Sacramento, the state capital.
We arrived there, all these black men and women, 24 males and 6 females with guns. And Ronald Reagan, then the governor, was on the lawn with 200 future leaders of America, 12 and 13 and 14-year-old kids. And these kids started leaving his session on the lawn and coming to see us. And these young white kids thought we were a gun club.
Knowing the media would be there, the group of men and women then entered the Capitol building.
Heavily armed, whether their weapons are loaded or not, nobody seems to know.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Who's under arrest? Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest? Place him under arrest. Am I under arrest? Take your hands off me if I'm not under arrest. If I'm under arrest, I'll come. If I'm not, don't put your hands on me.
Is this the way the racist government works? Don't let a man exercise his constitutional rights?
If my sweater's ripped, you will get...
I'd like to make a statement now with this respect. Statement of the Black Panther Party for self-defense on the Mulford Act now pending before the California legislature. The Black Panther Party for self-defense calls upon the American people in general and the black people in particular to take full note of the racist California legislature, which is now considering legislation aimed at keeping the black people disarmed and powerless at the very same time that racist police agencies throughout the country are intensifying the terror, brutality, murder, and repression of black people.
A nation that had grown used to the nonviolent civil rights movement was now confronted with new images of black protests. Later, at a Sacramento service station, news cameras documented the continuing debate over law and guns.
Ain't no sawed-off, that's a rad shotgun just like yours.
You don't know the Constitution, right?
Sure we do. We're well aware of the Constitution.
You have no right to take my gun away from me. You break the Constitution right.
The pamphlet says that the Black Panther Party for self-defense calls on the American people in general to take careful note of the racist California legislature. Why do you believe the legislature is racist?
Don't you know? You're a part of it, and you're obviously, it's a white system. It's obviously where we are.
Do you believe everything that's in that pamphlet?
Pamphlet speaks for itself.
The Black Panther Party's style and dramatic actions captured the attention of the media. Yet the Panthers often disagreed with the way they were portrayed.
The examiner made a report back here in the last Sunday's paper that we were anti-white, that we hold no bones, this is a quote, pick no bones about being anti-white. This is a bold-faced lie. We don't hate nobody because of their color. We hate oppression. We hate murder of black people in our communities. We hate the gross unemployment that exists in our communities. We hate black men being taken off into the military service to be fighting for racist, decadent American promise us freedom.
To present their story and their program for social change, the Black Panthers created a national newspaper. Language and art were important tools of the new party.
I knew that images had to be changed. I know sociologically that words, the power of the words stigmatize people, and we felt that the police needed a label other than that fear image that they carried in the community. So we used the pig as a rather low-lifted animal in order to identify the police, and it worked.
Some feared the reaction that the Panthers' stance might provoke.
We'll just have to get get guns and be
My parents or my neighbors were kind of reluctant, kind of standoffish in their attitudes towards the Black Panther Party, because here you had a new dynamic kind of organization coming out doing things that never had been done in the history of this country before. Carrying guns, standing up to the police, standing up to the power structure.
Eldridge Cleaver, who had gained fame from his writings in prison, was the chief spokesman for the party.
And we feel that the police must be brought under control by any means necessary, including through force of arms. And we have never bit our tongue about that. We say it now loud and clear. We will always say it. We're not afraid to say it, that these racist Gestapo pigs have to stop brutalizing our community, or we're going to take up guns, we're going to drive them out.
As the Black Panther Party grew, so did tensions with police. In October of 1967, a year after the party's formation, Huey Newton was shot in the stomach in a confrontation with police. Police officer Herbert Haynes was also seriously wounded. Officer John Fry died from gunshots believed to be from a police revolver. With the death of a policeman, government pressures on the young organization intensified. Newton was charged with first-degree murder. He maintained he had been framed.
In America, black people are treated very much as the Vietnamese people or any other colonized people, because we're brutalized. The police in our community occupy our area, our community, as a foreign troop occupies territory.
The Panthers called themselves a revolutionary organization. The 10-point program was their blueprint for change.
And we wrote out this program. We want power to determine our own destiny in our own black community. Immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people was point number 7. The right to have juries of our peers in the courts, what have you. We summed it up. We wanted land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace.
The Black Panthers distributed free food and later developed a free breakfast program for children.
Good morning. Good morning. I can hear you. Good morning. Good morning. Black is beautiful. Free to it. Said I was free. Free to it. Black is beautiful. Free to it. Said I was free. Free to it. Black is beautiful. Free to it.
The idea was obviously twofold: for the specific purpose of serving those people who were directly benefited by our programs, but also secondarily to influence the minds of people to understand not only that the Black Panther Party was providing them this, but more importantly that if they could get food, that maybe they would want clothing, and maybe they want housing, maybe they'd want land, and maybe they would ultimately want some abstract thing called freedom.
Around the country, particularly in urban areas, young black men and women formed local chapters.
The party grew much too rapidly because many of the young people were very enthusiastic about the guns and about the berets, but they knew little about the community programs that were really our reason for existing.
The growing party still faced the dilemma of having its leader, Huey Newton, in prison. Court proceedings attracted national attention, bringing support to the Panthers from an alliance of white and black political organizations.
You're obviously in good spirits, Huey. Why?
Because I have the people behind me, and the people are my strength.
Huey's mother's here. This is the Black Mother.
February 17, 1968. Stokely Carmichael, James Foreman, H. Rap Brown, leaders of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, now joined forces with the Black Panther Party in their call for revolution.
And so in talking about Brother Huey Newton tonight, we have to talk about the struggle of black people, not only in the United States, but in the world today, and how he becomes part and parcel of that struggle, how we move on so that our people will survive America.
There's no in between. You're either free or you're a slave. There's no such thing as second-class citizenship. The only politics in this country that's relevant to black people today is the politics of revolution. None other.
April 6, 1968. A gun battle on the streets of West Oakland. 5 men were wounded, 3 police officers and 2 Panthers. A third Panther, Bobby Hutton, age 17, was shot to death.
Black people are now to organize in a fashion where we have maximum retaliation against all forms of racist, police brutality, and attacks.
What changes have there been in the Black Panther Party since the gunfight last weekend?
What you mean, what changes? We have a black man that's dead, murdered by pigs. That's a change.
Here were men who were saying, listen, we are willing to take charge of our lives. We're willing to stand up. We're willing, I mean, there was the appeal that Malcolm had in many ways. They had a certain subjective appeal to my psyche and to my emotional need to say, yes, there were men in this world who cared, black men, who cared about the community and wanted to do something and were willing to take it to the last degree.
In the fall of 1968, 2 years after the party's founding, Huey Newton was convicted of manslaughter in the death of police officer Fry, a conviction which was later overturned. With chapters in 25 cities, government surveillance was increasing. The membership of the Black Panther Party had reached several thousand and was growing.
It was a battle. It was a struggle. And I think we rooted ourselves in the sense that we began to get millions of black folks to really look at where we were coming from and our stand against the power structure. Now, a lot of people call revolution a confrontation. Really, what you and I meant by revolution was a need to revolve more political power and economic power back into the hands of the people. That's really what revolution is.
The Black Panthers continued their struggle, working outside the system.